All right, we're in the middle of week 5 of the Healthy Eating,
We
Healthy
are.
Living Challenge.
Which by now, side note, please fill out the chart by Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. so I can do the points. Okay, thank you.
Erica really wants you guys to fill out the chart
Yeah.
timely, please. So it's interesting. We've got two different ends of the spectrum of comments regarding it yesterday. So I had one person pull me aside, hey, I really like this. You know, sleep's my hardest thing, but like, I don't feel like I'm missing out on any of the bad stuff because I'm satiated and full from what I am eating, but I also don't feel like I'm depriving myself of it. Like it's there, and it's like, I think they were like, well, instead of 10 cookies, I'll just eat 2 cookies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But then on the other end of the spectrum, someone said, you know, they're like, I'm gaining some weight, and we had to have a clarifying conversation to figure out what was the root cause of it,
Right.
right?
And so I think so let's start with, if you are someone who is gaining weight or feeling like they're gaining weight.
Or not losing weight.
Right, or
and
even
need, and want to lose weight.
Right. So first thing, if you're weighing yourself at home, that's fine. Be mindful of the time of day you're weighing yourself, right? You're always going to be heavier at the end of the day as opposed to the morning. So the best time to weigh yourself is first thing in the morning after you go to the bathroom, ideally with no clothes on. That is going to be your like truest, this is what I weigh. If you don't weigh yourself until the end of the day, and most people did their BIAs with us in the morning, that weight might look the same or heavier because you've eaten all day, you drink water all day, you did all these things, you're gonna be a little heavier. So 1, be mindful of that. 2, I would say, and this did kind of come up with that person last night, even if, depending on how you're doing with the challenge, it just might be more food than you were eating before. Not that it's bad food or that it's wrong to be eating it, you just might be realizing, oh wow, I was really under eating before, and now maybe your body's getting to a better spot for you, a more comfortable, livable spot, and then we can kind of lose weight from there. If you're someone who like chronically under eats, it's very hard to then keep losing weight and to do any sort of lifestyle change and keep losing weight because your body's like, we're already deprived of so many things, right? So that could be a little bit of it. Also is we're eating really healthy, we're eating really well, but I'm just eating more than I was before, and that could be a little bit where that maintenance weight or a little bit of weight gain is coming from.
So I'll say, you know, if you don't know what we're talking about with the challenge, well, you can go back to one of the previous videos, watch that. But you're eating a certain number of grams of protein based on your fat-free mass. So we'll use mine as an example. So I'm eating 165 grams of protein at a minimum. 165 grams of protein, it's 4 calories per gram. So we're looking at 600 plus another 15, 30, 660 calories. Okay, 660 calories of protein. Then we're eating a minimum of 800 grams of fruits and vegetables. Even if you took like all of your fruits and vegetables and just ate bananas, which is going to be the most calories basically, it's about 800 calories of bananas. So that puts me at 1,460 calories if I'm just eating that. Right? And part of the confusion is that just because something has protein in it doesn't mean it's only protein, right? And so you look at broccoli. Broccoli is probably the most protein in a vegetable, maybe mushrooms, depending on how you want to count that.
Yeah.
But you know, there's other things in it that count. And
right.
so,
and like going to broccoli, it's like you're gonna count that as your fruit, like your vegetable, but you're gonna count that towards your 800 grams. You're not really looking at that as a protein source, even though it's giving you a little bit of that.
You can absolutely count it towards your protein, but the rest of the calories and stuff do count. And so all of you who are doing the challenge have your BIA reading, and you can look at on your BIA reading that basal metabolic rate, that BMR, right? That's the number that we're striving as a floor.
Right, as a minimum.
Okay.
Of how
So
much you're eating.
if we take my 1,460 calories, you know, that puts me 700-ish calories below my floor. So that's only if I'm eating just, imagine egg whites and bananas, and that's all I ate for the day. Now, if you are a person who feels like they're not changing the way that they want to, where are you related to your basal metabolic rate?
Mm-hmm.
And how many calories are you getting from the things that are not just the protein and the fruits and vegetables?
Right.
Okay.
So for example, this person we looked at because they're logging everything they eat, which again, this is a great way or a great reason that to log your food, because then we can look at exactly what you're eating and then kind of see, oh, where can we make adjustments? If you're not logging, which is fine, you don't have to, it just makes it harder then to be like, here's what's happening. And so this person was getting a lot of protein from cheese. And so cheese does have protein in it. You can absolutely have cheese on the challenge. You can count it towards your protein, but cheese is going to have more fat in it than protein. So depending if you're trying to really use that to get to your protein goal, you're gonna end up eating a lot more fat than you're probably intending to, and then that's where a lot of those extra calories are gonna come from.
They had a couple tablespoons of peanut butter
Mm-hmm.
to finish their protein goal, right? And so they needed 10 more grams of protein. And you're like, oh, cool, right? That's not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But to get the 10 grams of protein in peanut butter, they consumed an extra 22 grams of fat, which ends up being 200 extra calories in fat to get 40 calories in protein.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, is it a better bad choice? Absolutely. But it's inadvertent sabotage.
Right.
Because what we found was this person was eating almost half the calories they're consuming from fat because they're trying to find those protein sources. And so, if you're struggling with this, or again, as we transition out of this, how do we continue doing it? Really, this is very livable. Like, eat fruits and vegetables and enough protein, it's gonna take care of a lot of the things, right? So just make sure the protein sources, right? How do we find lean protein sources? Well, egg whites are a great lean protein source, right? Low fat meats. So like if ground beef is relatively cheap, but you're gonna pay more money if you're doing like a 95.5, right?
Yeah.
95.5 is gonna be leaner. Boneless, skinless chicken breast, it's gonna cost more money too. You could buy skin on and take it off, and it's gonna be a leaner source. Turkey is usually pretty readily available. They usually do like a 94.6.
Yeah. Tuna's my favorite.
Tuna's
Go
great.
to, like when I just need protein, tuna.
Yeah.
It's what I go to. Or like shrimp is another one. You can buy like the bags of frozen shrimp and just kind of keep it on hand. Like that's a good one
And
to
then,
have.
not that we're saying to eat it all the time, but once a day have a protein shake that's just a whey protein isolate or an egg protein. You're gonna be getting, 20 grams of protein, and it's gonna be just protein. So those are really good lean protein source options. If you're on the opposite end of the spectrum of this person, where maybe you're losing too much or you're feeling sluggish and lethargic because you're not getting enough calories in, you would be looking for, all right, I can add in maybe some extra carbohydrates, I can throw some rice in, I can throw some more starchy carbohydrates in, some potatoes, right? And just make sure that we're creating a little more balance with that. But so far, I mean, again, I'm still hearing people seeming to be enjoying it.
And I would say, going back to like when you talk about the floor of what you were just eating is like 14 whatever calories. Dennis eats more calories than that in a day. So it's like that's what he's eating based on just the challenge rules. But in order for him to maintain his muscle, maintain his level of fitness, do all the things he wants to do, he needs to be eating more than that. So he's gonna then fill in those gaps with other things like some fats, probably healthier fats, but with some fats, with some starchier carbs, and things like that. So that's also okay to do if you're on that end of like, I'm feeling sluggish or I'm losing too much weight too quickly. Yeah, make sure you're eating enough food.
So we were just highlighting that if you ate just that, the
Right.
floor is lower than my BMR,
Right.
and I'm not going to eat that low. I mean, my breakfast has usually between 600 and 800 calories in it for breakfast, and I typically eat 3 meals and a snack right now. So it gives you a frame of reference of where my calories are going to roughly fall. But yeah, so the other thing to look at, maybe you're like, you know what, I'm crushing it with the food. My calories are right where they're supposed to be, but nothing's happening. Are you doing the water? Most likely, yes. Here comes the big one. Are you getting the appropriate amount of sleep, right? You know, for those of you guys who use the Whoop, I see your Whoop data, see a lot of good recovery scores, see some sleep challenges for people. Listen, I am one of those people. I went to bed last night at 8:08 p.m. 8:08. And I got up today, I think at 3:20 because of the storm, but also had a 4 o'clock session. But I'm gonna probably take a nap just to try and get above 6.5 hours, but also because I know I need to get that. And so, you know, there's only so early I can go to bed, and I got to get up at a certain time. But
yeah, and remember too that 6.5 hours that we set for the challenge, again, that's the floor.
Yes.
Right? Like if you're someone who only gets 5 hours on a regular basis, yeah, let's try and aim for 5.5, 6, 6.5. Like that's going to be huge. But if you're someone who easily gets 6.5 hours and you still feel like, oh, I'm not losing as much weight, I'm not whatever, you might need more, right? Like ideally 8 hours is like what we should aim for. And so if you're getting 6.5 and still kind of feeling a little sluggish or not as recovered, or you feel like you're not losing weight, you might need more sleep than the 6.5, right? Like that's just the floor. You can get more than that.
my Whoop tells me every day I need like 9 hours.
Yeah.
I'll get it. So if you're not familiar, the Whoop will like notify you, hey, you should go to bed at this time in order to get all your sleep. And it's like, you need to go to bed at 5:53 to get all your sleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't.
You need a full day of just sleeping.
So this week's challenge we're finishing up is getting those 10,000 meters in, or if you're doing the bike, 20,000 meters. That's just for the week. It is not every single day. And then, so we're finishing up week 5. We got 6, 7, 8. At the end of week 8, starting the Open. Open's gonna have 3 workouts. Friday nights, we're gonna be doing those. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So
You all should have received, well, as long as you're
a member.
a member, yeah. You would have received an email that went out on Monday, I think it was. It has a link to register for the Open and a link for the judges course that we talked about in our video last week. There's also a link to the video if you're not sure what the Open is or anything that I'm saying right now. There's a video in that email that you can watch, and anyone can take the judges course. I think it's a lot of fun to have a lot of our members judge. Even if you don't want to judge, it's just nice to take and see what the standards are, so you know why we're no-repping you or why we kind of make you guys squat to targets or do certain things. This is why. It's, you know, it's what CrossFit's telling us is the standard for these things. And I think it's just fun too to, like, sometimes, you know, in the Open, have your friend judge you and, you know, be there for each other.
Yeah. So that's what we got for this week. We will catch you guys next week. If there's any topics you'd like us to discuss, shoot us a message, let us know, and we would be happy to do that.
All right, see ya.